What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, October 25th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 14:34 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Venezuela and from Eastern Europe. So I wanted to catch you guys up on all the latest breaking news. Also, I wanted to mention that I started posting to X. My X handle is at NYPrepper1. So check me out on X for updates throughout the day. And periodically, when I'm not posting videos, I post over there. Also, follow me on Patreon as well. So we have some major breaking news this afternoon. We currently have a presidential doomsday plane up in the air over the Midwest and Kentucky, and it's flying with its tracker turned off, and it just got aerially refueled by a U.S. aerial refueler from Indianapolis. So here's the doomsday plane. It has the call sign Club 22, and it just turned its flight tracker on near Louisville, Kentucky, and it is now heading east towards West Virginia. Very, very strange, very unusual. So U.S. continuity of government operations are in effect right now. The president went to Asia for the Asia Pacific Economic Forum or Cooperation Summit, and Xi Jinping is expected to meet Trump in South Korea. We also have J.D. Vance and Rubio in the Middle East. So interesting. Seems like all the leaders are not home right now in the U.S. And also, we have several aerial refuelers that took off from Mildenhall in the UK and flew all the way down to the Eastern Mediterranean for some reason, and then turned around and came back. So they must have escorted either fighter jets or bombers that had their flight trackers turned off. And potentially this could have been to bring Vance and Rubio back to the States. Maybe they were refueling their planes, but this is pretty unusual. We also have Hurricane Melissa. Tropical Storm Melissa has officially formed into a hurricane, and they are now projecting over 30 inches of rain for parts of Haiti and Jamaica. Absolutely insane. And it looks like the storm will go straight over the center of Jamaica and then over the eastern part of Cuba and then go over the Bahamas and then go out to sea. But it looks like the most damaging time period for this storm will be starting tomorrow through Wednesday. It's going to move extremely slowly just south of Jamaica and then cross over Jamaica. Okay, so isolated 30 plus inches of rain. That is going to be historically devastating for Jamaica and Haiti. And Trump is evaluating strategies to target cocaine production facilities and drug smuggling pathways in Venezuela. So he's already thinking about land strikes in Venezuela. And Harvard scientist Avi Loeb warns that the interstellar object 3I Atlas zipping through our solar system could be an extraterrestrial Trojan horse whose presence has major implications for humanity. So some of the latest news about 3I Atlas is that, number one, it's giving off water, okay, and also there's some light coming off of this thing. Okay, and apparently it's extremely old, so this could be some kind of galactic recon ship or probe, intergalactic probe sent out by aliens that's basically been in space forever, just collecting information on different solar systems. And talks on transferring Tomahawk missiles to the Ukraine are ongoing. According to the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he said, "We're working on it." He said, without giving away any further details. He said this yesterday at the coalition of the willing meeting. So Keir Starmer confirming that talks on transferring Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine are ongoing right now. And Trump is reportedly willing to break federal law to engage in a conflict with Venezuela. A source close to the White House says Trump plans to coordinate with Congress only when Maduro's corpse is in U.S. custody. Wow. And the defense minister of Venezuela said there is a threat in the Caribbean with the deployment of U.S. air and naval equipment, but we are working without fear. Our country will continue its path and cannot be stopped even if they threaten us and intimidate us. We are now facing the worst military threat in over 100 years, represented by the aerial and naval deployment of the United States. Wow, the worst threat in 100 years, according to the Venezuelan defense minister. And Russia carried out additional long-range bomber training over the northeastern Pacific Ocean with their strategic bombers last night. One Tu-95, escorted by two Sukhoi 35 fighters, came close to the airspace of Sado Island in central Japan, forcing Japan to scramble fighter jets in response. The Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed the incident, stating that they were escorted by fighter jets from a foreign country at one point. Okay, so very, very concerning. And the French President Emmanuel Macron announced on Friday that France will deliver an additional batch of Mirage 2000 fighter jets and Aster 30 surface-to-air missiles to Ukraine in the coming days. Wow. Okay, so the Mirage 2000 is a nuclear-capable fighter jet, guys. Okay, it is nuclear-capable, and I don't know much about these Aster 30 missiles, but surface-to-air missiles being sent to Ukraine as well. And we're hearing that a synagogue in Kherson, Ukraine, was hit by a Russian missile. Apparently, the rabbi there left moments before the missile hit. Wow. And that is biblical, guys, okay? These Russian strikes on churches and synagogues in eastern Ukraine is biblical. That is purely satanic, guys. To strike a synagogue, absolutely insane. And American Airlines will resume direct flights from JFK to Tel Aviv in March of 2026. And obviously the largest Jewish community is near JFK Airport. Okay, the New York City area has the largest Jewish community in the United States, so they're going to resume direct flights from JFK Airport to Tel Aviv in the coming months, in March of 2026. And the new Japanese Prime Minister says Chinese, North Korean, and Russian military activities are of grave concern and will take U.S. ties to new heights with Trump. Interesting. And we heard yesterday that American aircraft were reportedly flying along the Iraqi-Syrian border. And Israel vows swift action against Hezbollah threats in Lebanon. An Israeli security source told Sky News Arabia that Israel will strike immediate threats in Lebanon without prior warning. The source stated that Israel is closely monitoring Hezbollah's attempts to rebuild its capabilities, including strategic ones, and will prevent such actions. Wow. And European sources told Sky News Arabia that a large-scale Israeli attack on Lebanon could be imminent amid ongoing tensions with Hezbollah. It remains unclear whether Israel would hold the Lebanese state complicit in such a scenario. Wow. And the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said Putin is running out of money, troops, and ideas. Trump said it very well. They should stop where they are right now. Wow, strong words from Mark Rutte. And Zelensky said that Putin wants to divide us. As soon as the pressure and the likelihood of the presence of Tomahawks in Ukraine were felt, Putin immediately announced his readiness to resume negotiations. But with the lifting of the pressure, he abandoned diplomacy. Therefore, it is clear that we must increase our deep strike capabilities. Wow. And Zelensky also said that the coalition of the willing agreed to step up their activities in the coming months, and that peace is born from pressure on the aggressor. And the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said what happens in the coming weeks and months is pivotal for the security of the UK and all of our allies across NATO and beyond. Wow. And Israel reports that 60% of Hamas tunnels in Gaza remain intact. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz told U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance that 60% of Hamas's tunnels in Gaza are still undestroyed. Wow, 60% still not destroyed. Absolutely insane. And Zelensky said yesterday at the Coalition of the Willing that we have to implement all we discussed today regarding Russia's shadow fleet. Additionally, we are carrying out our own campaign of pressure with drones and missiles, specifically targeting the Russian oil sector. Long-range capability directly strengthens diplomacy. The more losses Putin suffers on his own territory, the fewer assaults he can carry out on the front line, and the faster he will agree to meaningful diplomacy. That is why we are working to secure Tomahawk missiles, additional Storm Shadow missiles, and other capabilities. Wow. And India has issued a NOTAM, a notice to airmen, for a major military exercise involving the Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force along their western border with Pakistan from October 30th to November 10th. The scale and location of the drills are said to be highly unusual. Wow. And Trump said on Truth Social yesterday that the U.S. stock market is stronger than ever because of tariffs. And the U.S. Treasury has officially put sanctions on the Colombian president, his family, and his inner circle. And Russia's fourth largest oil refinery, the Ryazan plant, located southeast of Moscow, had to halt their refining activities due to Ukrainian drone strikes earlier in the week. And Russia's central bank on Friday cut its benchmark interest rate and said growth had slowed to almost zero. Wow, so Russia's central bank cutting their interest rate, growth slowed to zero. And a Chinese vessel is reportedly getting Russian gas off the coast of Malaysia. Interesting. A liquefied natural gas tanker off of Malaysia appears to be receiving fuel from a sanctioned Russian vessel. This is being reported by Bloomberg. Interesting. And Italy is preparing its 12th military and humanitarian aid package for Ukraine, focusing on munitions and missiles for the SAMP-T air defense systems. Wow. So 12th military package for Ukraine from Italy. And Ukraine's Octopus interceptor drone, developed jointly with British scientists, will be mass-produced in the UK, according to Zelensky. Thousands are planned monthly, with the first batch already approved. And on October 24th, yesterday, Kherson in Ukraine came under intense Russian artillery bombardment, with what appeared to be the random targeting of residential areas, killing at least 2 people. And the Ukrainian military on October 23rd released footage of what it says is a Russian first-person view drone hunting Ukrainian farmers in the Donetsk Oblast. Wow. And Bloomberg is reporting that Trump's sudden shift in stance on Russia was prompted by an assessment by the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a longtime supporter of a tough policy towards Moscow, who he once called a gangster. Rubio also canceled a planned in-person meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov after they spoke on the phone. And yesterday, the U.S. struck another vessel in the southern Caribbean, and Kirill Dmitriev, the CEO of the Russian Direct Investment Fund and personal envoy to Putin, has arrived in the U.S. and is expected to meet on Saturday with White House Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, according to Axios. And Putin's envoy Kirill Dmitriev says that sanctions against Russia will have absolutely no effect on the Russian economy, which is what Putin said. And then Trump responded by laughing and saying, let's see what happens in 6 months. And under a deal worth $2 billion, Britain agreed to supply more than 5,000 lightweight missiles to defend Ukraine from Russian attacks. Wow, 5,000 missiles, that's a lot. And according to a new Ipsos poll, voters across the U.S. overwhelmingly say the cost of living is the most important issue heading into the 2026 congressional elections. And we have a housing market red alert. Home deals are collapsing at record levels. Home buyers are backing out of purchases like never before. 15% of home deals were canceled in August, the highest cancellation rate ever recorded for the month since tracking began in 2017. And over 2/3 of Americans are now living paycheck to paycheck. A stunning 67.6% of U.S. consumers are now surviving paycheck to paycheck, according to a new payments survey. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back Sunday night with some more breaking news. In the meantime, follow me on Twitter. I'll be posting on Twitter. That's at NYPrepper1. The links are in the description down below to my Twitter and all of my other social media accounts. Also, you can tune into my 24/7 live stream, which is ongoing right now, to get continuous updates from my moderators and other people in the chat, and I'll periodically check into the live stream over the weekend. But until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 P's: prepare, practice, and persevere. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to use my link. It's in the description below this video. It's preparewithnyprepper.com. So they're selling their 3-month emergency food kit at 30% off. Plus, they're going to throw in an additional month of food. So that's 4 months of food. And the normal price would be $944. And they're selling it at just under $700 for 4 months of food. And this food has a 25-year shelf life. And it's all packed into rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space in your home. And the food is obviously nutritious, which is very important for surviving any kind of SHTF situation. You can also use this food for camping and traveling. But use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get a free month of emergency food with your 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply, all at 30% off, just $700 for 4 months of food. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get the deal, and the link is in the description below this video.